There we go. Okay, we good to go, Liz?
Yes, we're good to go, Mr. Mayor.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Some meeting of the Seldovia City Council, some work session today. This will be Monday, August 28th, 2023, times 5:04. Looks like we have Bobby, Ashley, John, and Vivian, 4 council members in attendance. So we'll go ahead and get started. Discussion topic today is going to be a strategic planning session, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I am going to screen share here in a minute once Excel decides to open up. I don't know what we have happening right here now in council chambers this evening, but my computer's been doing this all week. It's just really slow to open everything. Yeah, Council Member Keithley says hers is just waiting as well. So in the meantime, I'll just start talking a little bit about why we're here this evening. We were really fortunate the last 2 years to have former city manager Friedlander worked so diligently to put forth a capital improvement program plan for the council to approve. And those were some pretty significant, it was a pretty significant load and a big push to get that out there. And so I'm hoping and seeing what some of the other communities do, starting the process in the early fall, late summer, versus trying to rush it out midwinter will afford us the opportunity to have more opportunity for public and council input. And with that, thought that the strategic planning document was a great, just a brainstorming document to help start getting people's brains flowing, get those juices flowing, brains working, getting some ideas out there. And I really think we're getting a very strong list together of things that are needs of the city. And we've had staff input, we've had some council input. There's still room for more input after this, and we'll have more meetings that are more specific to the capital improvement plan following this work session. The strategic plan you'll see is in the packet, and it starts on the different examples and feedback start on page 7, which is mine. I had some last minute inclusions to mine just from having discussions with different people about, the new refuse truck and the roof repairs at the city building are Public Works' #1 priorities right now. Operator Cameron did not have the opportunity to submit a document like others did, but he's had these discussions with me, and he's seen what we were going to discuss, and those were his top 2, so I added those on there. I added on outhouse and sludge management, interim solutions for waste as my #1 sewer, per seeing Clerk Diamond's plan, because I thought that was a great one to include, and harbor office roof under harbor as #2, though the harbor master says the roof is fine until the next storm. So with that, you'll see some individuals that submitted. And it does say in the bottom left corner who they're from. So harbor staff follows. She's got some different things for the harbor. That was her big focus. You've got Clerk Diamonds after that on page 14. And Councilmember Rojas provided some feedback on page 15. Councilmember Sweat to follow, and Councilmember Swick. We can go through each person's if you want, but I really was hoping to be able to correlate this feedback both in the capital improvement program plan we keep calling it a capital improvement plan, but according to code, it's a program. So I don't know, guess we need to stick with one or the other. But also to utilize these documents and this feedback, because it's not just project specific for council priority discussions, budgets discussions. It's a tool that we can keep using and updating and adding to moving forward in the future for a variety of discussions. My hope tonight was that it would be more of a focus project-wise for the CIP, upcoming CIP discussions. And so with that, I took the liberty on page 3 to combine all of the projects into one document, including the ones that were already in the CIP. And then was hoping we could go through each project and evaluate what it is as where it is in the priority list for the council. And that will help us in edit and updating the CIP to meet more of council's needs. And then hopefully we'll have some more public input in the future. So I'll stop there and just see if that sounds like a great direction for you guys, or if you would rather talk more about the strategic planning documents themselves. If you want to jump into just talking about the projects that came out of our previous CIPs and out of these documents, I'll go ahead and screen share and we can move forward. But I'd like to hear from you guys on what direction you want to go with this.
Sounds good, Heidi. Yep. Go ahead. Anyone from council want to chime in?
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Vivian. I
Sorry.
couldn't hear you quite with your microphone, but yep, I got you now.
Okay, if you can hear me, okay.
Yeah.
I prefer if we, at this point, if we go through our CIPs that Heidi has put together and just walk through there and see where we're at for a start. That's what I'm in favor of doing right now. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that would be a good start.
Okay. John or Ashley, any comment on that? You guys good with that approach, or?
I'm good with it. No comment.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think that's fine. Heidi's obviously taken, into consideration a number of these based on all of our needs, and yeah, I think that's a good starting point for sure.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then with that, we'll keep coming back to that strategic planning document, and we can, when we discuss priorities. But from this document and from our previous CIP, I combined projects that were commented on. See, and I'm screen sharing, but it's not responding again. So this might not work. We might have to go through it individually, but we'll see if we'll give it a minute and see if it catches up. So on page 3 of your packet, and I used the CIP headers fairly loosely. I kind of added a couple extras, but for the most part, this is how it was laid out in the CIP. I do have paper copies for anybody if that's easier to look at, of the table of contents of the CIP, which is in the document in the packet on page. Let me see here if it helps to look at what was already in the CIP, and it states on the spreadsheet, but it's just a kind of a useful tool to see what we've already discussed and what priority it is. On page 33. And then I printed out a few of the prioritization list that we'll be discussing this evening. So up first is Public Works Facility Projects. Oh, looks like it. No, it's still thinking. And just going through, the list of projects, it cut off.
Heidi, you want me to try to share on my end to see if it's any better?
Yeah,
Okay,
that would be helpful.
Yeah, go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay. Because it looks like
you guys must be having some bad internet issues tonight. So let me find.
page 3, but I'm also seeing it cut off. No, but it did.
Can you guys see that on the?
Yep,
There you go.
Okay.
Much better. Can you make it just a little bit bigger, Jeremiah? Let's see here. And I apologize because it looks like it cut off the beginning of the page. Let me see here. Oh,
that's what I'm looking at in my packet from home.
yeah. Let me see. That's not what my screen that's frozen is looking at. But that first one should say multi-purpose building. I think it got bumped up a little bit. Multi-purpose building, siding and stairs, new paint job, foundation improvements, generation auto switch, and evaluation of energy efficiency opportunities. Below that is the value added building, manufacture or complete value added manufacturing plant building. That's how it's listed in the CIP. Roof repairs to the SFL leased building on municipal dock and city office. Outside beach pavilion repair, evaluate energy efficiency for the city office, and evaluate development of city storage yard for heavy equipment of storage. Public Works maintenance shop. You'll see in the blue on the right, I did put just a few comments of where we are in things, as well as the suggestion to separate out the roof repairs from the SFL building. That's becoming more and more of a prominent need. Guys are we thought we fixed it last spring, but it did not. There are still leaks that have occurred this summer. Upon further investigation, the recommendation at this point is to replace the entire tin on roof. The purlings, everything underneath is fine, but right now, the recommendation is to replace all of the tin on top, which is, 8 years ago, that would have been an $80,000 project. So what it looks like now, I'm sure, is a lot more. And then the city awning out front, that's something that I may be bringing. I put it in the city manager's report for tonight's meeting, and may be bringing that forth in the future. I went out for a few quotes to see what it would take to get somebody to come in, because we just don't have staff. We don't have staff capacity at this point in time to fix that awning out front, and as well as to build a roof above the roof of the building on the dock. So those, when speaking with operator Cameron, those are the most pressing items on his mind right now for the winter, before the snow flies. Hopefully not the SFL roof. That's going to be a big project, but at least fixing the awning and the building on the dock, as well as obtaining a new refuse truck. So out of facility projects in this category, it'd be great if I could get feedback on, and you can have as many 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s if you need them, as you want in each category. But it just gives us a great idea of what you guys think is a priority. If you wouldn't mind letting me know what your 1s and 2s relators are.
Couple of questions,
Yes.
Mayor Campbell.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the roof's leaking on the building on the dock itself, and the building that the flube is in and operating out of daily, it's leaking as well.
Correct. They are both
So
leaking.
they both need repairs.
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes. And also not only prioritize, but if you guys think that anything should be removed or anything should be added for facility maintenance, please, this is the time. But if I could just get a kind of a general consensus of what your highest priority needs are, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if it's most likely not high priority, but every time, I just want to make a comment, every time I take that ferry and it's coming into town and I see that fuel building, it looks horrible. So I think somewhere along the line, we need to think about doing that, painting that building also.
I just looked at it today. We did a safety inspection on the dock, and I will add it to the list.
Like it has looks like it has a skin condition. Gee,
It's on the list.
it's horrible. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, like I said, probably not top priority, but it's got to be a priority at some point in time. Just for the health of the building itself, you know?
So maybe say that as a 4 or 5.
Mr. May, if I may ask Heidi a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Thanks. I agree with what Bobby said. But I think that that is true for all of our infrastructure, all of our businesses, or all of our buildings that we own and operate. I mean, that, to me, that's top priority. Somehow we need to make that happen. So Heidi, with what you've got under Public Works facility projects, you want those in some form of 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s? Is that what you're asking?
If that's something that you guys feel like would be valuable feedback. Otherwise, I can present to you what I think it would be, or discuss what I think would be, but it'd be helpful just to see what council's appetite is, what you prioritize.
I think also as we're looking at it, it's what we're prioritizing, like what we feel like needs to be prioritized, but also what can be funded. Because sometimes something like paint might be able to be funded through a way that the roof can't be. And so really keeping that open mind and just communicating that, I think, with the community when those things happen, so that when they're like, why are we painting the fuel new building when the roof is leaking? And just being really open and letting them know, like, the excitement of if that were an example that we were able to paint it before we could fix the roof, why that's happening, but that the roof was actually number one priority, but we were, able to get funds that were specific towards community beautification. And that doesn't include a roof leak, or whatever. So because I would definitely say that out of all these, for me, the one would be if there's a leak, because that just builds into more damage, being someone who just found a leak in our last storm in my own home. You want to get it right away.
Yeah, I would agree. The roof repairs, I think, are a priority. I think the siding and taking care of the multi-purpose room is also a priority. And I think that if we're looking at that building, putting a paint job on it, talking with the art council, they did a fabulous job on the EMS and fire department. The old mural that was painted on the fuel and lube years and years ago, that might be a project that they may want it. That would be lovely, actually, if they took it on. The drawing's already there, just a recoat of paint would really freshen things up. And that might be a conversation to have with the art council for next year.
If I may piggyback on that, that's actually a conversation that Arts Council has brought up in the last couple months when we were working on that other mural, is the fuel and lube needs a refresher. So I'll take that back to Art Council as a priority the city would like to help kind of partner on in whatever fashion we can.
And I would agree, Heidi, that I think for me, from the public works facility projects, anything, especially in a lease situation where we are with those buildings, I think the roof repairs, repairs and or replacement need to be, high priority ones. Certainly that roof has to be, there cannot be as many leaks as there was, getting rid of the skylights and stuff. Obviously, it sounds like it's going to need one more round of, specific targeting to try to find any additional leaks. So.
Yeah, right now they have been up there and investigated. It's where the bolts are meeting the tin and the washers have rusted out and needing replacement. And it's coming down to potentially a whole redo at this point, because they keep going up there and we keep piecing it together and it just pops another leak somewhere else.
Yep.
The outside beach, when you're talking about the pavilion repair, you're talking about those rusty pipes that are supporting it, or what is the repairs we're talking about there that Jordan mentioned?
So the outside beach was in the previous CIP came about, and I think that's more beautification on and just upgrading that.
Oh, okay, because some of the vertical uprights, they look like they're pretty rusty. So I didn't know if it was structural you were talking or beautification. I wasn't sure about what.
We'd have to take a better look at it.
Yeah, I've looked at that, and that's the same thing, you know, along with all the you know, the pockmarked siding on the current city building and all that. It's all corrosion. When we don't keep up on the painting, the salt air just eats
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it just all comes down to deferred maintenance and or lack thereof, and then eventually it would, you know, it exacerbates the time in between capital replacement. It shortens the life of everything.
Right. And I guess, you know, that's where we come back to, or at least in my brain, I keep coming back to the city of Seldovia. So we really have a lot of infrastructure, really have a lot going on that we provide to the community. And we only have a couple of people who do the work. And so we really find ourselves, I think, really overstretched what we are actually able to do or keep up on. And that's really difficult for the crew, and it's difficult for the city. So sometimes I look at what our goals and wishes are and really think we need to maintain what we have and keep it in an excellent shape and do what we can. But boy, we really need to sometimes rein in what our dreams and wishes are, because sometimes it's really hard to be able to expect 1.5 persons in public works or less to accomplish everything that we've got going. And if there was a chunk of money that we could just hire people, if people were available, that'd be one thing. And maybe that's part of the smaller projects we do, find money and hire it out if we can find somebody to do the work. But anyhow, at this times I find it overwhelming to think about new things. The value-added manufacturing plant, I mean, that would be super great if we could find somebody, we brainstorm and come up with some idea of what to do with that building before it wastes away into nothing. To me, that'd probably be a 3, maybe, depending on how many 1s and 2s we have. Evaluate energy efficiency. I think that's a great thing to do in that old building. You know, put that in the 2 or 3 category. Evaluate development of the city storage yard for heavy equipment. I think that's pretty important. Whether or not we could build something to store, that's a whole nother question. But yeah, it sometimes I find it very overwhelming, looking at what we have and what we need to do to keep it in some good shape. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian.
Now, Ms.
Campbell, I just have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I don't see on here is it the awning or whatever that's bad there on the city office as you go in? Is it on there?
It's not, so it's part of the roof repairs, and that's why I put it in blue. I suggest that we remove those, we separate those out for the future. The awning for the city, which I think we're gonna have to tackle in-house, even if it's through a contract or an RFP process,
Right.
this fall. The dock
So-
building and the
right,
fuel
so-
loop building.
Yeah, so I'd agree with everybody. It's pretty much that's the thing that's hard about this is then along comes a windstorm and something else becomes the priority.
Mhm.
And you know, so I would think the roofs, including that awning in front of the city office, needs something done, whether it's removed or repaired. And then the paint stuff second, and then on down the line.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Vivian. She's on the right track as far as I thought the same thing. We have way too much infrastructure that needs maintenance, needs care, and has for a long time. We have always put those things, I think, on the back burner because we've had so many other things that we've had to concentrate on, you know, that are very visible to the public, or like the dock, which is important, you know, and other things. And so our infrastructure has kind of been left behind. So I think we're faced with, we can't leave it behind anymore. Things are like gonna fall apart if we don't take care of them, at least a little bit. So, yeah, I guess maybe those things do have to be top priority or one of the priorities, that we're going to need to address, maybe one building at a time or something other than the roofs, of course, there's no doubt about that, and, yeah, I wished somewhere along the line we could have, of course, we can't do it now, that we could have combined some of, our buildings, a little better, but we can't do it now in this building, so, but anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that definitely needs part of the long-term discussion though on consolidation and slowly starting to, think about some of the stuff that we do not need to be supporting and or paying for in the future. That's probably a whole nother discussion, obviously. Heidi, we've, with the limited time here tonight, I don't know, we've, can either keep rolling or, just high level. I mean, we're going to have a number of these discussions, I think, where we possibly have a 2-hour session or a couple of them here, throughout the fall here to keep working on this document.
Absolutely, because I would like to have the opportunity in the future to work with Council Member Kennedy on more of our fleet needs and having a bigger discussion on that. But I think that refuse truck is probably a #1 priority right now for that. And then moving into public work transportation project priorities, I don't know that we have to spend too much time on this. Our stormwater management plan is happening right now. Safe roads. We continue to work on, and we are part of the Safe Streets for All project that the borough is going to initiate. They have received a grant for, so we're just waiting for that grant award to go through, and then we'll be entering into a contract with them and be a part of that. Evaluation and condition of the historic boardwalk and Bay Street snow removal. That project has kind of morphed into the update to the historic boardwalk improvements and waterfront boardwalk expansion project. And we were able to submit an application for technical assistance. So we'll see where those go. But I would say, right now they're not probably top priorities. They're all just kind of in the background, as long as that's a fair thing to say. And then moving on to quality of life and economic development. This would be an interesting one to get your guys' take on, as well as emergency service projects. And then if there's time, we can go into a marine, but water and sewer, I'm not particularly stressed about having that discussion unless you guys want to have it, because they're all being taken care of at this point for the most part. So not too stressed about having a lot of input on that one unless you guys have it. But certainly this quality of life and economic development and emergency service project priorities, it'd be great just to get your take on, are they 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s? Maybe they're not necessarily 1s because of the grand scheme of infrastructure needs. But we do have the increased digital equity through access to broadband, improved access to Lake Susan, public art installation at Central Park, update to Seldovia Municipal Code, evaluation to the Seldovia Small Boat Harbor. That is Harbor Waterfront Boardwalk. And I did make a note next to that that's already kind of part of surface transportation. So I was going to remove that evaluation of Seldovia Small Boat Harbor. Preservation of original Seldovia Historic Cemetery. That's the one up behind Jenny and Paul Chisis's house. Creation of the Seldovia 10-year collaborative economic strategy plan. Evaluation of RV park and outside beach campground usage to support recreational opportunities. Evaluation of Seldovia space use to conclude washateria and comprehensive plan and zoning zoning code update and review. So if you guys have any input on where those are at priority wise, this is really helpful for the staff even moving forward, because while we're not saying that these aren't all important and we wouldn't like to see them all move forward, it really helps us be able to shift focus on what is is doable, what is manageable, because as you've stated, this can be very overwhelming. There are a lot of needs. So what is it that the council really truly wants us to focus on?
I'll chime in on mine real quick. So the collaborative economic strategy plan. I know, we're about to jump back into the zoning, the comprehensive plan, the zoning code changes, or, what, if any, changes need to happen on in the business districts. I'll tell you, we did an exercise this weekend with the code, and it is not easy to work through the matrix or the table, the zoning matrix and table. And I can see why we've got, still somewhat of a mess in a couple of these districts with, definitions that don't exist. So I think getting that sorted out, but at the same time, I talked to Randy Sweet on the planning commission about, the upcoming meetings and, how that was going to work. And just one thing that I thought about is, not, when we look at our code, not where we've been or where we're maybe even currently at, but the vision of what we want Seldovia to look like in the future, based on what we have and what we, have the ability to do with the limited number of businesses, things to consider, and I've heard this time and time again, is Seldovia really a business-friendly place to do business? Fully understanding things cost money, infrastructure costs money. But I think there's going to be a lot of those type discussions that end up coming out of this zoning meeting. And that's going to have potentially a long-term impact or some sort of impact on some of these properties. I'd be hard pressed to think that things are going to stay status quo moving forward. So for me, just making sure that we have a vibrant economy in Seldovia is number one for me. Otherwise, if you don't have an economy, you don't have a town.
Mr. Ray, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that a priority would be to have a collaborative economic strategy plan, have that conversation. And hopefully during that conversation, we've got the business owners who are in have their boots on and they're in it, and they come and they partake and help us out. And the comprehensive plan and zoning code, those two, I think, go somewhat hand in hand sometimes. I think there's some things on this list as far as like the public art installation at City Park or at Central Park and Main Street. That's something to have a conversation with the Art Council about, and what in kind could we do? Help support with some paint, help do. But again, it's something that would help with the community, help with the interest in the beauty of the place. But it doesn't mean that the city of Seldovia has to be on march with it. They can be a supporter of it, but does not have to carry the torch. I don't know how many things you want on this list as far as to be included. I know the washateria, that's a subject that years and years that thing came around and around. And remember, with the city council years ago, even before I was on the council, the word was, or most people said, the city's not in the business of private business. That should be somebody who takes on being a washateria, a laundromat. And I think I still feel that way. So to me, that's not one I would be interested in focusing on. Having somebody come on to do the business and run it, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, that's all for right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vivian.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Well, I think the top priority needs to be the update to the municipal code and the comprehensive plan and zoning code update, because that's what basically we all look for. That's what basically runs the town. So I think that needs to be top priority to update those things. I don't, the update to the municipal code, well, that probably won't take long, but comprehensive plan and zoning code update, well, that might be a little, glad I'm not part of that one.
I think we're still good on our comp plan, Heidi. We still got quite a few more years left on that, don't we, before the next update?
I don't know.
We are about halfway through and, you know, it's been over 10 years. It's not a bad idea. We did an exercise with the planning commission last year, and there were quite a few suggestions of things that could be updated or reviewed that may not be current or consistent with where we are today. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, it could be a 3 or it can be a 4. I appreciate the feedback on the washateria and on the update to the code, because not all of these things you know, this plan was put together in an effort to get something available and out to people, but they do not have to stay on here. And we even have a future consideration list, so they can even be moved to that just in case they do need to come back. So those are great suggestions. We can remove those. We can make comprehensive plan a 3 or a 4. Collaborative, I would like to point out digital equity is at the top. And I know that's one of council's top priorities. So if that's, you know, a number 1 as well, even though that may not be as pressing or as an urgent as a economic strategy plan, you know, you could have 1, 2, or 2, 1, depending on what order you think it should be in. Public arts installation, even that could be removed and be a future consideration, because it just kind of helps see what the immediate needs are. Let's see here. So then you have improved access to Lake Susan, which could be, you know, a 3 or a 4. Just spitballing here. Preservation of original Seldovia historic cemetery obviously isn't an immediate need, but it'd be great to see. So maybe that's a 4 or 5. And we can bring this back. I mean, this is just a brainstorming session to get everybody's juices flowing. So I can implement those suggestions and bring them back. You know, it'd be great to hear what you guys think about the evaluation of the RV park and outside beach campground. Maybe that's a 4 or 5 as well. It's not super pressing compared to some of the other things. But that's kind of what I'm hearing so far.
If I may, as I look at this list, some of the things on here pop out to me in ways like the public arts installation. We talked about the art council, like, oh, we should reach out to them. There's multiple of these that I feel like are things that the city sees to be a part of, but it's maybe not like our priority ourselves. And almost taking some of these and being like, these are a priority, but they're not a city only focus. Like, how can we team up? And I go to my very first meeting when we signed that document with the tribe, because the broadband is the one that sticks out to me, because I've been to multiple meetings. Because I've tried in the last year to get to as many different things as I could to find out what's going on in our community. And that's one that's on their priority list as well. And since we're supposed to have some of these shared priorities and work together, what are some of those, maybe starting to identify some of the things that we don't need to alone try to fix, but prioritize our partnerships too, because I feel like that's something we haven't really talked about.
That's fantastic. So like a collaboration and partnership priorities category.
And so that we're not trying to put a bunch of time and energy in something that also another entity in our community is, and then all of a sudden we both meet at the same time, and now we've got like 2 different things, especially on broadband is the one that sticks out. Like, what if we end up working on something, get a program together, the tribe gets a program together, and now we have 2, which it's great to have more, but now we only have so many people we need to serve. And now we've spent a lot of energy when we could have just identified that's maybe something to work together on.
Yeah, it's almost like we need to create another category or another column or something somewhere in here.
Delegation. And teamwork. Like,
fantastic.
The partnership. And so that way, this document could be rearranged with the partnership, in parentheses, partnership with whomever. And that's a good suggestion.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick look at emergency services is actually a pretty quick one as well. Update our all hazard mitigation plan. That is extremely important that we have that for any FEMA funding, and we are that's expired at this point in time. But we do have a grant application in with the state of Alaska, and we were first in the queue. So it sounds like that'll go through. It takes time like everything else. Multi-purpose building generation, automatic transfer switch. I said that's also included with the MPB improvement project as well. So it can stay in both places because it should get, that's something that we may be able to do in-house, but is a priority to get done. And fire and EMS repeater relocation and/or acquisition of additional Alaska land marine radios. I'm not sure the full story on that one. So I can come back with feedback on that one, how that got there, unless somebody else has that input. We could just jump into marine, and then I think that'll give us a really great jumping point for the next discussion, because this is kind of the big one. You've got Seldovia Ports and Harbors, which includes Jackloff Bay dock replacement, small boat harbor float improvements, new waste oil shed, update trash shed for the harbor master's office. Those updates are scheduled to happen in the next couple of weeks. They were actually going to start happening this weekend due to a volunteer effort of some of the harbor mortgage customers. There are a few individuals who are handy with a hammer and want to help brace up the waste oil shed. And then the harbor master, along with those volunteers, was going to do a new stain and update. It needs paint, just like everything else. It needs paint. So that should hopefully be happening coming up. Update harbor restrooms, lighted flagpole is something that the harbor master desires so that the flag can stay up overnight. Pave harbor parking lot. And a selfie kiosk. Those ones are kind of fun.
What is a
Selfie kiosk this is Harbor Master Janet Peterson's dream, that there would be a selfie kiosk in front of that Seldovia chainsaw carving where people could pay money and get their picture taken.
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe a big long time dream plan, but it's on her list. And then boat haul out is there's one big category improvements. So I did put a suggestion to separate out and the separation would be the repair of the boat launch ramp. So you can see it below, boat storage yard meters and improvements, and overhead lighting for the BHO. And then the last category being municipal dock repairs, seeing it today. My goodness, it needs, like a lot of our other infrastructure needs, it needs some love, and it needs some love sooner than later. The approach slab repair is part of our inspection, part of what we received back from our inspection. And then crane maintenance keypad was something that crane maintenance was identified by myself and Councilmember Swick, and keypad by Harbor Master. So if you guys have any feedback on this one, and then we can call it an evening, that would be really helpful. I can put those together and bring it back.
Yeah, anyone got any comments on any of that? You look for some input on the dock then, Heidi?
On all three ports, Seldovia Ports and Harbors, boat haul out, and dock, if you have any priorities.
If I may.
Yep, go ahead.
For the first category, I would say the small boat harbor float improvements, that's something we need to stay up on. The public sees it, they pay their mortgages, and they want to make sure that what they're paying is going to something else. So small boat harbor float improvements, I think, is a one. The Jackloff Bay dock replacement, that's going to haunt us until something happens. That's going to be on top of us forever. One or a two, just because we need to make a decision at some point, and we're applying for applications, so we're working on. I'm glad to hear the new waste oil shed and update the trash shed. That sounds like it's happening with volunteers. That's wonderful. I'm not sure what is wrong with the harbor restrooms. Are they just in need of some help structurally, or?
I know there's been a lot of issues with flooding toilets this
Oh.
year. There was a couple mornings I went in and some people were like, the toilet's just running. So I think maybe there might just be some
Yeah, I
utility
think
replacement.
fixtures are just old,
Yeah.
wore out, need to be replaced.
Okay, well, that's something, number 2 or number 1. I mean, you can have several number 1s that we can shoot at. But if it just needs a toilet, needs a new part on it, that's way better than have people going in and have toilets flooding on them. The light pole, those things are down the bottom list for me, and the selfie kiosk. The paved harbor parking, we've talked about that before. That'd be maybe a 3. But anyhow, the first ones I would say, small boat harbor, jackaloft, and the new waste shed, and update the trash, and then the restrooms. And then on the boat haul out, all of which are important, I think we need to figure out, if we had a conversation some years ago about the expense of putting meters into the boat haul out yard, how many we would put in, the expense of the city, and how we'd get that money back. That was a consideration, a conversation. And I can't remember what sort of financial responsibility it was to the city. But all of the boat haul out and the storage yard are all, equally important. The ramp repairs, those should be a big consideration when the concrete is breaking apart and people are putting their boats in, going down there. I think that's a priority. I'm not sure. I mean, I'd need more information about the yard meters, how important those are, as opposed to somebody running their own generator. And overhead lighting, I'm not really sure about that either. The dock, all 3 are important as far as I'm concerned. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
If I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to kind of just simplify it as far as the looking at it the same way we looked at that first category, always trying to approach things from the what is a repair and maintenance to, as we've now identified, we need to keep up with the infrastructure that we currently have so that we're not putting money into something new while we have things that are deteriorating. And so just always identifying that. So as we're looking at anything from the harbor to even the boat haul out and the dock, which things are repairs that need to happen, those always need to be our priority ones. And then on the crane maintenance and keypad, what's the keypad for? Is that for like working the crane?
That's something that's been floating around for since before I started at the city, of how to monitor crane usage and safety, because it's a safety and a liability issue.
Okay.
So that's having a keypad or having a key in a separate lockbox, or we've tried several different methods.
And does that happen? Because right now, because I have not been a user of that. Is it something where somebody has to come down no, it's just free for all and open. Okay. So I would say from a safe, and then that's the other things, then I get I don't really see much on this list except for maybe the meters, but Vivian had a great point. We have to do that cost benefit analysis on that, but anything that then when it comes to our list, if it's something that's going to bring in revenue for a fund, then that kind of comes into that second priority there, or if it could cost us money, and that's kind of where the repairs go. And then also with the safety with a crane, that if that keypad is going to help keep us from a liability down the road that could cost us, and that's that cost benefit. If it costs us, throw a number out, I don't know, $3,000, so that we don't end up having to have a liability issue. The fact that we don't know who's down there operating the city equipment. So.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. John, anything for you or Bobby?
Well, I do have a little bit, I guess, under the Seldovia ports and harbors. Jackaloft dock would be 2 to me. I would agree with Vivian on the small boat float improvements. I'm not too concerned about the waste oil shed. I guess I'm unfamiliar with what's really wrong with that shed. Is the framework of the shed falling down or something, or?
Yeah, it's just old OSB boards that need to be repainted and braced.
Yeah, but that, to me, that's not a priority over, for example, the roof issues on the other buildings or even a consideration to paint. So it wouldn't be a big priority to me. I see painting much different than most people do because I spent most of my youth growing up with a professional painter, and you can paint all you want, but if it's not applied properly, it's not going to stay. And there's a lot of different kinds of products out today. And so when it comes to and Jeremiah can chime in on that, but a lot of different products out there today. And I think when it comes to that building down on the harbor, we might be able to get some life on it out of it if they'd had the proper application, a volunteer project to paint it. Absolutely. If you could come up with something like that, but I think the time would be better spent to make sure that we got the right application, so that it stays, or the right primer. But I guess if you go into this boat haul out and storage, I kind of see the same thing in 1 and 2. It says boat haul out service improvements, boat launch and ramps, and then boat storage yard meters. And then the next line is boat storage or boat launch and ramps. So
Yes.
that would be number 1 to me. I've backed down there with the little boat. It's, you got to be careful and take your time to do that. The meters, people that are working on their boats in the boatyard need power. So I don't know what the cost of that is. They have power now, right? For most of them that can get power anyway. You guys don't have power down where you're at. Yeah, so they definitely need to be fixed, but there again, but I think you should start with the ramps anyway. And then that approach on that municipal dock needs to be looked at as well. Something done with it. Priority 1. That's all I have.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, Heidi, we're going to probably run short on time here, and we still have to be able to provide public comment here as well. Probably got, unless there's anyone else here, probably got a pretty good little amount of input on a few of these. I think we have a lot more work to do here, over the course of the next few months. And then obviously like to hear from the other council members as well. So I would think that, yeah, we would continue where we started here, continue for all members to go through these, seriously evaluate, what your preference would be to see, and we work to try to get consensus on a matrix and prioritize, a priority list that everyone agrees to, and then, see about getting it cast in stone, if you will, for the upcoming year here. Does that sound like a plan, Heidi?
That sounds great. This is really great feedback, and I can implement what was received into the next version of the draft and then present that at the next discussion, and we can continue to move forward. So it'll get better and better as we have these discussions. And I really want to thank you all for your time, because you've brought up such great points that haven't necessarily been thought of before, or I really liked how Councilmember Keith Lee talked about her prioritization list. And I think that we can even utilize that as a guide of putting like our top priorities are these for these reasons, or generally. And then that way, when we move forward, looking at these plans, there's a key to always look back, like, why is this a 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5? And having, even though sometimes things might shake up or be different, it's a general guideline moving forward, if that sounds fair to you guys.
Yeah, I like it. I think that'll work. Maybe we'll go ahead and see if there's anyone online. I'm assuming there's no one no members of the public in the building there, but maybe there is. If there's any members from the public or online that wish to comment.
We don't have any members online, and I don't think anyone in the room is prepared to comment. So.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, we'll go ahead and, yeah, it's about 5:58 now, so we've got a council meeting coming up. So we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and then we'll just plan on having a series of follow-ups here in the future. So thanks for everyone's input today.
Okay. All right. See you in a minute.
Yep. Hey, Heidi, can we stay on this link, or do we need to sign in on another link?
Nope, this is the same link. We'll just take off.